Welcome to the Nicholas 11 Expert of Technology. Today we're looking at the Sapphire Radeon R9 280X VaporX 3GB GDDR5 AMD graphics card. The price certainly doesn't seem to be bad at all, but if it also performs, we'll see in the benchmarks. Before I move on, I'd like to thank ZerisTech, a great YouTube channel for hardware reviews and all that good stuff, for providing me this product. Thanks for borrowing me this card and therefore making this review possible. Sapphire is finally using a new box design if that matters. We're looking at the R9 280X VaporX version. This means this card is factory overclocked and comes with a better cooler than the regular version. 3GB of GDDR5 video memory is offered. On the back of the box is more information on the different features. Inside the box right on top is the graphics card well protected in an anti-static bag. As for the accessories, there's the driver CD, but I'd recommend downloading the latest drivers from AMD's website in order to get the best possible performance out of the card. Then there also are two dual modems to PCIe 8-pin adapters for older power supplies, a crossfire bridge, an HDMI cable, and the quick installation guide with a note from Sapphire. Oh, and of course also Sapphire's registration card. Alright, here it is now, the Sapphire R9 280X graphics card. As you can see, a plastic shroud is used. It certainly doesn't look bad, but the quality is horrible. It's very flimsy, you can hear sounds coming from the shroud when you're touching it. Two fans are used here, and Sapphire uses their famous VaporX cooler here, that should keep the card cool and quiet at the same time. Lots of aluminum is used here, as you can see, and therefore the card is also quite heavy. But there's no need to worry about bending the card, because Sapphire has used this very nice looking metal backplate. The standard sapphire green bluish colored PCB is used, but I can't complain here because the thick metal backplate covers most of it up anyways. Now I just don't understand why Sapphire doesn't use a metal shroud, because a backplate isn't a must actually. Okay, a metal shroud also isn't a must, but I'm sure you know what I mean. The Sapphire logo right here will light up, by the way. This looks really nice, and I think more manufacturers should do something like that. To power this card up, two PCIe 8-pin power connectors are required. This is a really power-hungry card, you'll even see that in the benchmarks. This R9 280X also is pretty long, and I'm speaking of 27 to 28 centimeters. Up there are two crossfire connections for up to a 4-way crossfire configuration. This is a dual slot card, by the way, and as for the outputs, there are two DVI outputs, one HDMI and one DisplayPort output. Up there are some ventilation holes, which won't help that much because air will be blown away from the card into the case. This button right here will increase the core clock by 20 MHz and the memory clock by 50 MHz. All in all, the Sapphire R9 280X is a good looking card. However, the extremely cheap plastic shroud really destroys the good image. The metal backplate on the back, however, makes this card appear stronger and also adds a lot to the stability. One of Sapphire's biggest weaknesses are always their cheap shrouds. Other than that, everything seems to be fine. But now let's move on to the specifications. The Sapphire Radeon R9 280X VaporX graphics card offers 3GB of GDDR5 video memory and uses the Tahiti XTL GPU, so pretty much the same GPU as we saw on the HD 7970GHz edition card. The core clock of this 280X is at 950 MHz and its boost clock at 1070 MHz, the memory at 1550 MHz. The TDP is more than 250 watts, which is a lot actually, and the 28nm architecture is used. DirectX 11.2, OpenGL 4.3, as well as the new Mantle API is supported. The 280X has a bus width of 384-bit. In GPU-Z, you can once again see all the specs. At the time of this video, I'm of course using the latest AMD drivers, which are still beta drivers. Like I've said before already, Sapphire factory overclocked this card, but you can easily squeeze out even more performance by overclocking even further. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, we should now take a look at the benchmarks. So there you have it. As you saw yourself, the Sapphire R9 280X VaporX graphics card definitely has performance to offer. The price-performance ratio is really good, I have to admit that. When it comes to the performance, it's pretty much a tuned HD 7970 GHz edition card. Well, the same GPU is used, so that's why. This 280X can be compared with the Nvidia GTX 770 card, which costs a little bit more though. However, in some cases the GTX 770 offers a little bit more performance and sometimes a bit less. Gaming definitely is no problem with the R9 280X, so you could for sure play at maxed out settings. The temperatures are okay, the fans are unfortunately noticeable but not necessarily annoying. The power consumption pretty much is a problem when it comes to this R9 280X. It's higher than the one of the GTX 780, which however offers a lot more performance. Compared to the previous generation HD 7970 GHz edition card, the R9 280X consumes roughly 58% more power, while the performance difference isn't really noticeable in most cases. This Sapphire R9 280X VaporX graphics card doesn't look bad when it comes to the aesthetics, and in fact, I really like the metal backplate on the PCB, but the plastic shroud is horrible. It's probably one of the worst shrouds I've ever seen so far. It doesn't just look cheap, but it's also very flimsy. Pros are very good price-performance ratio, good performance is offered, and then I also like the beautiful metal backplate. As for cons, I have to say, this card has a very high power consumption, comes with a very cheap, flimsy plastic shroud, and last but not least, the fans are noticeable. But still, the price is really good, and therefore this Sapphire Radeon R9 280X VaporX 3GB GDDR5 graphics card deserves a 7 out of 10, and I can recommend it. Once again, thanks to ZerisTech for providing me this graphics card. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and visit Nicholas11x12techx.com to see videos there earlier than on YouTube.